Hey there, my friend. I didn't see you there. I thought today might be a good day to shine a little light on the power of Portra 160. The I'm not as popular as Portra 400 but still worth your time film that all too often gets ignored, overlooked, and pushed to the back of your film drawer in favor of more popular film speed choices. Portra 160 is the kind of film you bring along just in case it's too bright or you run out of Portra 400. Or maybe you're one of the smart ones who stumbled onto the fact that Portra 160 is usually priced at least a few bucks cheaper than its higher ISO rated siblings, Portra 400 and Portra 800. And yet, with Portra 160 you still get that fine grain, excellent color reproduction, and it works like a charm even when overexposed or underexposed. It's the hard-working underdog you always root for, like Rudy.
I wanted to run out of that tunnel for my dad.
But unlike Rudy, I wasn't planning on running out of any tunnels. Not anymore, at least. Hey Dad, sorry, but they said if I go running out of the tunnel again, they're gonna press charges, so... Now, when it comes to what to shoot to really show off what this film is capable of, you of course have your usual suspects like portraits and maybe even some landscapes. But I decided to shoot some cars. Not in the road rage kind of way, and not because I'm a car buff by any means. I drive a minivan. But simply because I like the smooth lines, the vibrant colors, and old-fashioned design of classic cars. And there just happened to be a car show going on only a short drive away from where I was. So I packed up my trusty Pentax 6.7, my Canon EOS 3, a handful of Portra 160, and struck out to see what I could see. But here's where things get interesting. You see, if you wake up one day and have this bright idea to go shoot a bunch of cars, then a car show sounds like a dream. A gift from the film gods, with hundreds of subjects lined up side by side, all clamoring for your lens's love and attention. But with such volume, space kind of becomes an issue, and finding new, creative, and isolated backgrounds becomes a challenge, and in some cases, an impossibility, as I realized later, where many of the shots I took could have been real contenders, but were ruined, or at the very least, not enhanced by their surroundings. Like this old Econoline. This shot that looks like it was taken in a parking lot, and this super saturated, smack you in the mouth orange crush son of a gun that was ruined by the camping chairs in the background. Now sure, I could have adjusted my aperture a bit, maybe slapped on an ND filter to compensate, and maybe tried to twist and contort myself Cirque du Soleil style in order to find a better angle. Or I could go all digital on it, load it into Photoshop, crop it tight, use generative fill to artificially somewhat intelligently replace those chairs with a flower box or something. But all I'm saying is that sometimes it's harder to get good authentic photos in what is largely a staged setting. It's not all bad news though, as sometimes the way the cars line up allow for the perfect balance of complementary colors. We need 8, so it's like 125. See if I could hit. In this case, a little pop of cherry red with some cyan right behind it. And speaking of cyan, if you happen to be overexposing Portra 160 by more than a stop and a half or so, you're probably going to notice a slight color shift towards cyan in your photos. But just how apparent this is going to come down to your scanner, the software you use to convert and process the image, or whatever tweaks your lab makes if they're taking care of all that for you. Today I was only overexposing by about half a stop, so it wasn't really much of an issue. Lucky for me, the day was young, and there were more opportunities to be had.
Yep.
Like this shot, which is one of my favorites, as it's not quite emblem, not quite abstract, not too saturated, just, I don't know, kinda cool. The result of the inexplicable beauty you get when you combine two outdated technologies in order to create something, dare I say, timeless. Oh, that color. Further down the road, I stumbled upon this blue beauty, a Crown Vic in a lighter, brighter shade of cerulean blue that was just begging me to take its picture. And if you zoom in, you can even see a picture of me taking a picture in the reflection. It's very meta. You grab like the inside. Is the window closed? Oh, that's super cool. Beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yeah, just gorgeous. The colors are amazing.
Yeah, outstanding. Ridiculous.
I like this one because of the blue dashboard and yellow 8-track tape sticking out. The hula dancer adds a nice vibe to it as well and makes it seem more real and authentic. From there, I got what people these days are calling a woody pick. And this stereotypical, maybe even cliche shot of a hood ornament on this bad boy right here.
That hood ornament's cool. Just grab like a...
Now when it comes to shooting cars, or anything for that matter, there are a few rules, or at least guidelines or principles you may want to follow. Things like making sure to capture the tiny details, as this is what makes each subject special and unique. Depending on your circumstances and situation, sometimes this is going to mean getting creative with your framing.
Yeah.
And other times, it's going to mean focusing on a single unique element or section of your subject. You also want to get comfortable with being uncomfortable by changing the angle from which you're shooting. The world looks different when you're not standing upright or sober, and that's true for car photography too. So try shooting from a low angle like I did for this shot here. You'll either get an incredibly powerful shot or you'll see an ant passing by. Either way, it's a win. I also like this shot because it gives us a nice rendering of those blue tones, but there's still a peak of yellow sneaking in from behind. Like that time Big Bird thought it was a good idea to start photobombing people on the news. This next shot I wanted for a few reasons. First, because I'm not sure this guy was even supposed to be here, because if he was, he must have pissed off the wrong people to have his spot right beside the porta potties. More importantly though, this was one of the few opportunities to get a full side view shot with a clean background, and so I was happy to wait around as long as it took for people to finally get the hint that I was trying to take a picture here. After that, I grabbed this one quickly in passing, before heading on to what would become another one of my favorites of the day. This guy. A wide-angle shot taken from a low position to really emphasize the shape and design of this yellow car. I also like the colors and feel they're a pretty good representation of what Portra 160 is capable of. I'd also asked a random stranger to hold my Pentax 6.7 a while back and hadn't seen him again yet, so this shot was taken on the Canon EOS 3, which is a 35mm camera, but it still packs just a whole load of detail into a much smaller frame size when compared to a 6x7 negative. Fortunately, shortly after that, I managed to track down my trusty Pentax 6.7 just in time to capture this shot here of this red car. Then, a motorcycle. The only one in the entire show, so I figured I could spare a frame or two in order to make sure it had its time to shine.
Hot Wheels.
Oh, wow,
That's sweet.
fun.
I wonder if I have a lens big enough. Let's try and...
And a quick shot of the Hot Wheels logo on this Chevy van, because I still love Hot Wheels.
You have to line up like the window.
From there, a quick shot with the Pentax 6.7 of this guy with the open sign in the background.
Oh yeah? That's okay, I'll just wait.
And another hood ornament.
Okay,
Only this time from a Bentley.
that's actually a really, really cool shot.
I realize now that I probably should have taken better notes on the cars I was photographing, but based on my research, it's safe to say that this car was built sometime in the past 900 years or so. Now, I don't know what it was about the Bentley, but from that point on, I felt like I really started to get dialed in. Maybe it was the excitement of getting to shoot Portra 160 at the car show. Maybe it was dehydration, setting in from lugging around the Pentax 6.7 all day. Or maybe I was starting to hallucinate from all the car exhaust fumes. But whatever the case, from here on out, I was trucking, or carring, I guess.
It's like a beautiful... I want like super, super depth shallow.
This shot, man, Just love it. The dynamic duo of Portra 160 paired up with the larger negative that the Pentax 6.7 delivers really came through for me here and captured those blue tones every bit as beautifully as they were that day in real life. The colors were perfectly rendered from what I was seeing, with a great balance between vibrancy and realism. If I ever decided to start a magazine on film photography, I could see this shot being the first cover.
Oh, that's sweet.
From there, the hits just kept coming. First, a pink Fairlane, where I was able to show the softer side of Portra 160 in all its glory. Then, we were back to blue to capture the interior of this Chevy.
Yeah.
Complete with sheepskin seat covers, which I feel provide a really nice balance of black, white, and blue, and really give off a nostalgic vibe. It's a good feeling, just like how I've got a good feeling that you're also going to enjoy this film photography video that I've got linked up right here. So make sure to tap or click that now, and I'll see you in there in just a second.